Hi there. My name's Blaine. Most of the people in my life just call me Dad. I'm a firefighter, welder, business owner, a teacher, published author, and most importantly right now, a home bar enthusiast. Recently, I felt the need to try something new while we were all stuck inside. So while everybody else was trying to figure out how to work out, I took up bartending and mixology. I've learned as I'm about to show you that while there's a few rules, anyone can learn the secrets of the world's best bars and mixologists. I've also learned it doesn't take a lot to get started. Your bar doesn't have to be amazing, and then you can literally be the star of any party you go to. I created these videos to give you the insight and teach you the skills that I've learned. In them we'll make the Prohibition-era classics, as well as many of the new cocktails you might find on a night out. I'll touch a bit on the history of each, probably throw in a few good dad jokes for good measure. So come on in, have a seat, relax. I'll ask you the same question I ask all my friends and family now that they're old enough when they come over. You care for a drink?
What if I told you there was a drink that is unlike any other you may have tasted, a drink that is well over 100 years old, and that while popular, is rarely, if ever, ordered? And what if I told you this drink was made to be a white cocktail, even though it isn't white? That it was named after a famous person, who isn't actually a person at all? What if I told you all this was true, and yet if you told the same stories to those you know, they wouldn't believe you? Would you think I'm mad? Confused? Allow me to tell you the tale of the best tasting cocktail you've probably never ordered. And although it does exist, and it is real, seems to be the product of someone's imagination, let me tell you the story of the Brandy Alexander. All right, well, the Brandy Alexander is a much maligned and delicious drink. It actually dates back to the Prohibition era. It is a direct descendant of the Alexander cocktail. Simply swaps the original gin for brandy. The name, according to historian Barry Popkin, comes from the last name of the bartender who created it, a bartender named Troy Alexander, who worked at the Rector Hotel in New York City. And while the Rector closed its doors in 1914, up until that time, evidently it was the place to be. The story goes that the drink was mixed to be a white cocktail, and it was in honor of the all-white wearing Miss Phoebe Snow. You see, at the time, rail travel was how we got around this country, and the coal was the preferred fuel for steam locomotives. Well, with all the soot from the funnel drifting back over the passenger cars, many of the passengers looked like engineers or firemen themselves when they disembarked at their final destination. A brand new anthracite coal was introduced, which promised a much cleaner, less lung-irritating trip. To market the new coal, Phoebe was invented. She was a very fair young lady, and she dressed all in white. And surprise, surprise, when she got off the train at her destination, she was still a pristine white. Okay? To celebrate and honor the fictitious maiden on her official railroad function, Alexander created the drink. You see, he tossed a bunch of beige-colored alcohols into a shaker for a railroad party he was at, and the Alexander was born. It's also possibly the reason that the beverage has a history of being a ladies' drink, even though the woman who represented it never existed. It was invented to honor her and her railroad voyage, even though that was a complete fabrication. As with all cocktails, however, there's some speculation. While this remains the most widely accepted story, it seems that everybody who had the name Alexander wanted credit for the drink. Well, there was Grover Cleveland Alexander, who was a baseball pitcher at the time, and Alexander Wolcott, who was a drama critic back then. There was even talk the drink was named after Russian Tsar Alexander II, although that doesn't make a lot of sense if you actually look at the timeline. But it's mentioned. Pretty much anybody who had the name Alex wanted to be associated with the drink. And while we don't know when exactly brandy was substituted for the gin, we do know that by the 1930s, Superman had come out of the phone booth, so to speak. The drink was wildly popular, not just, though, for men in general. You see, the drink still seemed to have a lot of sexism attached to it. It was ordered for the ladies, and they loved it, but it wasn't seen as very manly to be drinking one. Even years later, if you see the drink mentioned in film or in a book, it's usually a woman who orders it. Or if a man orders it, it's for a woman. That the stereotype continues to this day might explain why most bartenders have to look up how to even make the drink, Well, they know of the drink, of course, and they know perhaps even what it tastes like. They might have tried one, but the reality is it's ordered so infrequently that many can't just remember the recipe off the top of their head. Regardless, the drink is amazing. It's chocolatey, it's got a super velvety texture, and it tastes fantastic. It's been a dessert drink since its inception, and it's had an amazing run. You know, it's too bad that it's so hard to classify because, see, it's definitely not as strong as its other Prohibition brethren, but it'll knock the socks off a lot of cocktails today. Kind of in a class by itself. So, what do you say? You care for a drink? How about a Brandy Alexander? So to make this, very simple. On our mixing tin, we're just going to go with equal parts, 1 ounce apiece. First of all, brandy. Dark creme de cacao. And then we're going to do 1 ounce of cream. Ice in our tin. Grab a mixing glass. And shake. Glass. And then we're just going to strain it in. We can top this off with a little nutmeg if we want. Fresh grated would obviously be better, but not too many people have fresh grated nutmeg. And there you have it, the Brandy Alexander. Well, that's last call. Thanks for stopping by. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like down below. Feel free to leave a comment as well. You never know, I might feature your drink next. While you're at it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? That way you'll know when I've got new content out. You know, each of these videos takes me between 2 and 4 hours to shoot and edit. Couple that with the cost of the booze and the ingredients, it's a good size investment for me. I'd really appreciate it if you're so inclined, and if you would help me cover the cost of my time and ingredients, you can do so by heading over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/drinkswithdad. There you'll find additional footage, contents, a monthly newsletter. There's a lot more than that. You'll also be able to help support me keep creating these videos. I'll see you next time.